Sandra Odufaderin is here. She's a marriage and relationship expert, and she's joining us today to give her thoughts on the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law dynamics. Great to have you in the studio with us, Sandra.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Oh, absolutely, our pleasure to have you here. So when we talk about mother-in-law, daughter-in-law dynamics, it's usually a very, very interesting ground to touch on. I don't want to say tricky, because some people have been able to pull it off effortlessly, while some struggle through it. But for you, what is the ideal mother-in-law, daughter-in-law relationship? Naturally,
it's meant to be a very sweet relationship. It's meant to be a relationship that's going on smoothly. But funny enough, it's the other way around. But the truth is that a man is built around the love of his mother. Studies has proved that a man that does not have that mother figure in his life has the tendency to be abusive when he finally gets married. Now, the first person he ever see cries was his mom. When he was giving birth to the mother cried. The first person he ever see having menstrual issue, woman issue, was his mom. Now he's attached to his mom, and he's so close to his mom. His mom sees him as everything. And you know, we women, we are naturally emotional towards our children. And then sometimes we even give him a pet name. And now a woman is coming from nowhere, younger, hot babe, coming to take her lover. That's where the problem starts from.
Now, for some parents, especially some mothers, it really is not a big deal. It's something they look forward to. They anticipate the time when their son can bring a woman home, especially for the benefits of procreation, so they can say, oh, I'm a grandmom now and everything. So most times you have cases where there's that friction. But really, what causes that friction? Because it's not in all cases.
A study was carried out. Out of 10 mother-in-laws, 8 said they can't stand
their
daughter-in-laws. And that's because their daughter-in-law comes and just take away the love. Now, sometimes you notice that when a woman or a man is getting married, some mother-in-laws, they just go cold. They are not letting go of that love. Now, she takes care of the man's food. She takes care of everything. Now, a woman is coming now to take her responsibility. And if it's not well managed, there's going to be issue. My advice to mother-in-laws is when your son is getting married, intentionally say to yourself, I'm going to love this girl. Because if you love her, the love you feel you are missing, that she's taking away, she's going to bring your son back to you indirectly. How do you love your daughter-in-law and there's no issue? Now, one, will you go and report your daughter to her husband when there are issues between you and your daughter? No, you wouldn't. Will you fight your daughter when you come to the house and maybe there's no food or she's sick, she's tired? No. Your daughter will want to be free with you and just express herself. You won't pick offense that she's rude. So if you accept your daughter-in-law as your own daughter, there won't be issue. And then I always advise young intending couples, don't live with your mother-in-law. Because you cannot be living in a husband's house and still want to get married to your husband. One of the best ways to live happily is to tell your husband, no matter how comfortable the house is, let's get our own apartment. So that the 1 week that you visit or she comes for a visit, you are able to manage yourself. We know that ladies have this tendency to jealous. Like, okay, probably she's not from even the same state. I am married to a Yoruba man and from Edo State. Now, she's cooking the Edo food. She has this fear that, is she going to take my grandchildren to Edo? Or take my grandchildren to Igbo land? When I'm Yoruba, she's not cooking a wedu in this house. She has forgotten that she is coming from a place where this is where I was brought up. And then she now needs to intentionally love her to be able to get her to do what she wants to do. On the wedding day, most mother-in-law are heartbroken. But if you know what is good for you and you want your son to live long, the best advice for you is to intentionally love your daughter-in-law. And for daughter-in-laws, if you have a mother-in-law that loves you, please reciprocate. respect her, and try as much as possible to take her in as your mother. Mother-in-law, daughter-in-law issue has been far, far, far my great-grandma issues. But it's getting more intense now because most young ladies now work. They're financially okay. They can now take care of themselves. So they say to themselves, most of them that I've seen, oh, I can't take some stuff from a mother-in-law.
Okay, so Sandra, I find it very interesting because this is an angle to it.
Yeah.
And just as I mentioned earlier, there are people who have never had issues with their mothers-in-law.
Yeah.
And of course, flipping the coin as well, there are also daughters-in-law who give their mother-in-law a serious time where the mother-in-law might be the open one, but then the daughter-in-law is the one with problems. I've only seen mean mothers-in-laws. In fact, I dare say if there are 10 mean mothers-in-law in the world, I've seen 9 of them in movies. I haven't encountered any personally, not from people I know, not from people around me. Okay. So it's always been a struggle for me to understand the issue of mother-in-law, daughter-in-law dynamics, because I've always seen it as something that mothers are usually open, because many a times your children go out to the world, explore the world, so they probably haven't even stayed with you all their lives. So a man who is already staying with his mom till he gets married is already a mommy's boy, as we usually say.
Yeah.
So if you are now saying you want your wife to come stay with you, there has to be a particular agreement.
Yeah.
Which brings me to something you mentioned earlier, the fact that when you get married, yes, it said you cleave to your wife, but what if that man getting married cannot afford an apartment of his own at that point? Isn't there a way to also manage it?
I'm sorry to say this, he's not ready to be a man. Even if it's a one-room apartment. When I was going to get married, we didn't have this much. And I insisted that, I'm sorry, I don't want to have issues. It's not going to be easy living, you know. So we put funds together and we got our apartment. I insist that if you're going to get married, you should try as much as possible to have your own house. You can't be married in her husband's house. That's her husband's house. And she says the rules. She tells you what to eat. She tells you you can't even have free life. So if she really loves you, she can even help you put funds together and say, my daughter and my son, go and live your life.
So there are so many angles to this. Yeah. I wish we could touch on it, but unfortunately there isn't enough time to do so.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing we've been able to at least touch on it as lightly as we have.
Exactly.
I must say a very big thank you to you, Sandra.
Thank you so much.